Can we all remain standing for a moment of silent prayer and meditation? Thank you. You may all be seated. Good morning, colleagues. Let me take this opportunity to welcome our Honorable Premier, who is connecting virtually, members of the Mayoral Committee, you see now. Colleagues, you will understand I've been a councillor for 17 years.
I'm not sure if I'm the only one who can't hear anything.
Yeah. Let me acknowledge members of the Executive Council.
No, I also can't hear.
Only Fox.
But colleagues, you don't have to make noise.
It is audible now. We can hear now.
Thank you. Let me take the honor of acknowledging our Honorable Premier, who's connecting virtually, members of the Executive Council, members of the Provincial Legislature, leaders of political parties, ladies and gentlemen, the people of Gauteng. Greetings. Colleagues, we are aware that, I know that many people are saying that we're in the third wave, but I think there are discussions to say maybe the third wave is looming. So we need to take care of ourselves, continue to protect our families and those that we interact with, because as public representatives, we are aware of the work that you continue doing. So ensure that wherever you go, you also ensure that people are protected, but also they comply with the regulations. In the past month, we had other members who actually contracted COVID, but I'm happy to indicate that most of them are now healthy. They've since recovered, and continue praying for those that are still not well, including some of the officials in the legislature. We also lost one of our advocates in the legislature. May his soul rest in eternal peace, and we'll send our condolences to the family. Thank you very much. In terms of apologies, we have received an apology from Honorable Lidwaba, Honorable Mabala, who are both not well this morning, Honorable Nisi, who's still on maternity leave, Honorable Khatebe, who is writing exams, and we wish her well in her exam, Honorable Ghana, who will depart early, Honorable Bloom, who can't be here because of a religious holiday, Honorable Shabalala, who's attending to urgent party business, Honorable Nkosi Malubane, who will join the meeting by 11, as she is attending a family funeral. Those are the only apologies that I have received. Okay. Yeah, I think those are the only apologies that I've received. Thank you very much. Do we have any member who wants to do an announcement? None, thank you. We have not received any MEC statements in terms of Rule 79, subsection 1. In terms of member statement, in terms of Rule 81, subsection 1, Honorable Moriarty.
Madam Speaker, in this time of extreme pandemic that has inflicted illness, death, and economic deprivation, there can be no more important portfolio than social development. So it is with some alarm that we have noted that in the city of Johannesburg, an appointment has been made for the executive head of social development, one Mr. Muzbanzi Zukile, who has got question marks over his head from having had to leave Alfred Nzo municipality, Ndumeni municipality, Amatlanti local municipality under a cloud, and has been implicated as recently as 2019 by the National Treasury that ordered Mr. Zugile and other implicated officials to personally pay back an amount of 11.2 million rand for contracts awarded irregularly during his tenure as the acting municipal manager of the Ngobo municipality. Now, this is the caliber of the person that's been appointed as the one person in the city of Johannesburg to be responsible for the one portfolio that has to be regarded as extremely important at this time. Now, the matter has been raised with the Honourable MEC. He has engaged with the Mayor of Johannesburg 3 weeks ago and has given the Mayor a deadline, which deadline has not been met. Our call is upon the ANC as an organisation to do what is necessary to protect the citizens of Johannesburg and not protect a buddy. Thank you very much.
Honourable Fuchs.
Thank you very much, Speaker. The management of the COVID pandemic by this administration leaves much to be desired. At the recent portfolio meeting of the Health Committee, questions were asked about the strategy of the department in terms of its response to the third wave. The answers from the officials were so mealy-mouthed and obfuscatory that it became evident that there is no strategy. If you don't believe me, ask Member Masuku. How is it possible that no strategy has been developed or documented, yet the Premier is talking about taking strong measures in terms of the lockdown regulations? Surely this is putting the cart before the horse. Then, of course, we have the chaotic rollout of the vaccines, which is a national and a Gauteng issue. Now, we know that almost everything that this government touches turns into a train smash, but this rollout wins the prize, is a case study of how not to do it, and highlights the sheer incompetence of this government. The rollout of the over-60s vaccination drive has started with a whimper. This cohort of citizens who more than any other need to be vaccinated has not received the promised SMSs informing them where and when to report for vaccinations. In addition, there are a number of health workers that have not yet been vaccinated. And all of this in the face of uncertainty as to the availability of vaccines, allegations that the registration system has failed, and the fact that there are too few vaccination sites. Instead of creating hope and showing care, those responsible, Madam Chair, now tap dance and refuse to accept responsibility for the situation. We trust that those who are responsible will accept that responsibility and accountability, and it will be on your conscience, Mr. Premier, if people die as a result of the shambles that you have created. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Tilange.
Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, for years the Freedom Front Plus warned about the decaying situation of local governance in municipalities and metros in Gauteng. Urgent requests for serious interventions have gone unheeded, and truth to be told, local governance in Gauteng have been paralysed by incompetent management. In almost every newspaper and social media platform, we witness communities, political parties, community organisations cleaning and fixing their own towns, where municipal management are failing. Residents have to clean their own streets and refuse and sewer. They are forced to fix potholes, claiming lives and livelihoods of taxpayers who are forced to drive on pavements to reach their homes. For years, the COCTA department also has been well aware of the extent of corruption, transgression, mismanagement, and the lack of consequences for the non-compliance of political leaders and city managers. The omission to intervene and take serious action in time renders this department just equally quality and the transgressions, equally guilty. This is too little too late. There are no heroes in this scheme. To cry wolf after years of having your hands in the till is not acting. It is merely trying to save your own skin. Madam Speaker, promises for a better life cannot be eaten, and it does not feed a hungry stomach. It does not keep the poor warm, and it does not heal the sick. A promise is not a job offer, and it does not pay a salary. A promise is nothing but a way out of a situation for a person who has nothing else to give. The ANC has nothing else to give. That is why they make many promises so easily. This government owes it to the people to honour the promises and act on the non-existent service delivery. The Freedom Front Plus will not be a silent participant on local governance. Thank you.
Honorable Litwaba.
Thank you, Speaker. In accordance with Rule 8.1, subsection 1, I, Honorable Dolile Doaba, tables this following member statement on attacks on emergency medical services personnel. Madam Speaker, on the 7th May 2021, 2 emergency medical services personnel were shot at while responding to a gunshot incident at Dugatol, informal settlement in Germiston. One paramedic was shot and wounded and had to be rushed to hospital, while the injured patient later died on his way to hospital. This was not the first attack on paramedics. The department has reported that at the beginning of May, the female EMS crew member was attacked at gunpoint in line of duty, while on a separate incident, a shift leader and her crew were attacked by community members in Mahalis. We must warn that these attacks will leave vulnerable communities without essential emergency services. As the ANC, we join the MEC of Health in her call to communities to help to stop attacks on EMS personnel. It is unacceptable that EMS crew members must fear for their lives while on duty. EMS personnel risk their lives to save ours, and the best we as communities can do is to support them by ensuring their safety. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Modise.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and my apologies. I'm supposed to be in the House. I got delayed at the roadblock just outside Grasmere Plaza on the N1. Madam Speaker, in accordance with Rule 8.1, subsection 1, I, Member Modise, hereby table the following member statement: 80th anniversary of 1991 Swaneville massacre. Madam Speaker, the freedom of this country was nourished by the blood of our people. As the African National Congress caucus of the provincial legislature, we remember survivors and victims of Swaneville massacre, which happened on the 9th of 12th May 1991. We'll forever remember these heroes of Swaneville who laid their lives in defense of our revolution. On the fateful night of May 12, 1991, about 1,000 angry Kagiso hostel dwellers, assisted by the regime of terror in Pretoria, attacked the community of Swaneville informal settlement and left a trail of destruction, of poverty, and 27 people having lost their lives. The ANC Gauteng caucus, as it remembers those who laid their lives for our freedom, will seek to lobby that this day be placed on the commemorative calendar of the country as an instructive reminder of how discrimination divisions bring strife and destruction to our society. This we should do as a reminder of how the predecessor of both the DA and the Freedom Front Plus had a low regard for the lives of Africans and blacks in our country. The Provincial Secretary of the ANC, Gauteng, Comrade Jacob Kawe, says, and I quote, "We shall continue to commemorate this painful day until it is recognized like all other massacres that happened in this province. The youth of Western deserve to know that the freedom they enjoy today is a product of blood and tears." Close quote. We'd like to dip our banner in honor of those who lost their lives for this freedom, but also appreciate 8 years of their pain and trauma, which is still unbearable for the survivors and families of the victim. Yet to look with hope in the future of this country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Chief Whip.
Honorable Speaker, I am Zikumalo, member of Gauteng Provincial Legislature. Hereby serve notice in terms of Rule 811 of my intention to make statement to the House during the scheduled sitting of 18 May 2021 regarding the ANC cadre deployment of its best cadres into both state and government. Madam Speaker, in recent past, the opposition in this House has been attacking the ANC on its cadre deployment policy. Madam Speaker, the ANC on its 53rd conference affirmed the centrality of deploying conscious, competent, committed, disciplined, and conscientious cadres in the task of deepening the administration of both the state and government. Husted and Salomonsen correctly noted the mythical notion of neutral bureaucracies. This rebuttal influenced the ANC deployment policy, whose its intent is to ensure a balanced demand for both neutral and political responsiveness. Leadership of the state and government. To further amplify the assertion on the need of controlled deployment of leadership within the state, Kopeki and Shelias says this is done to make it possible for parties to implement their main policies by controlling the highest echelon of the state, as it's done in the UK. In assenting to what Kopeki and Shelias are saying, the ANC, in strengthening such a policy of deployment, its emphasis is on the need for such deployment to be preceded by academic, ideological, and political and ethical training. Let me repeat that: to be preceded by academic, ideological, and political and ethical training, to ensure that as they discharge their work, they do so in service of our people, but aligned to the broad mandate of creating a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous country. The ANC takes into cognizance that a conscious development strategy is important to both competent but also the state leadership who appreciate the need of the country, hence the establishment of the National School of Governance. This institution was set up to give expression to the need of those deployed in government, but their skills and qualifications to enhance their capacity in service of the Republic and its people. Madam Speaker, we affirm our commitment to a directed cadre deployment as the African National Congress. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mukwebo, I'm not sure what you are addressing. Remember, in terms of the rules, members are allowed to heckle others, but you can't just speak as if there are no rules in the House, please. Colleagues, thank you. That concludes member statement in terms of Rule 81, Sub 1. We have not received a motion without notice in terms of Rule 121. We'll therefore go to the first item, which is question time to the Premier in terms of Rule 138.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Makubela.
Apologies, Madam Speaker. I don't know if ever you were able to receive my member statement.
Well, I have not received your member statement, but also besides that, in terms of the rules, I think the number that I've accommodated has exceeded what the rules requires. My apologies for that, but I did not
Thanks
receive.
very much, Speaker.
Thank you. In terms of Rule 138, Premier's question time, and for this section, we only have 45 minutes to deal with the questions. I will therefore call upon Honorable Ntsege to start with the question to the Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With regards to the HOD for Gauteng Social Development, could the Premier please indicate who appointed this HOD? Where did the HOD work before being appointed in Gauteng Department of Social Development? Was she the best qualified of all the applicants? Is the HOD in any way related to the Premier? And if yes, how is she related to the Premier? Thank you, Speaker.
Honorable, let me see. Honorable Premier. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, to the Chief Whip and the leaders of political parties, my colleagues in the Executive Council. I would like to, as I answer this question, just take the opportunity to commend the elderly people, senior citizens who yesterday got their first vaccines, and those of us, Honorable Speaker, those of us who work on the ground, who are not in ivory towers in some place, know how excited and how exciting this period of phase 2 vaccine is. It is exciting, and that excitement is felt in our communities across the province where our people are, and that is why we want to move at great speed with reaching those particularly most vulnerable, the elderly, especially the elderly and people with comorbidities, as soon as possible, as based on the availability of vaccines. Having said that, I would like to first deal with the first question: who appointed the HOD? The HOD was appointed in accordance with the law of the land, Section 12 of the Public Service Commission Act 1994, which vests the authority to appoint the HOD on the Premier of a province, and the process that gets followed is again very, very clear. There was a selection committee that did the full interviews of all the candidates. The HOD of social development used to be a senior manager in 2 provinces, Limpopo and Mpumalanga. Based on the recommendation of the interview panel, and in this province we have a selection committee for all the interviews for HODs. The selection committee is made up of the relevant MEC plus the 2 other MECs, often sometimes it's 3, and the DG in the office of the Premier and people from human resource. All the HODs are interviewed in accordance with the panel that's regulated by law. So the HOD was interviewed by that selection panel. A recommendation made to the Premier after the following things: competency tests get done before that, and the vetting of the HOD. So I appointed the HOD in accordance with the law based on the interview, the recommendation of the interview and selection panel, as said in here. Am I related to the HOD? No, except that we are South Africans and we work for the provincial government. And we are Africans. That is the relationship, and we are human, and that is the relationship we have. I mean by related, I assume the honourable member mean a biological relationship. We are not.
Honorable Nsekhe, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, I'd like to make a comment, not a supplementary question. Premier, I appreciate your response very much and squashing the rumors around whether you are related to the HOD. The concern around this issue, however, is that the HOD has been leading a department that hasn't been performing very well and underspends by almost $1 billion now if you look at from when she joined up to date. There's a strong feeling if you talk to the people in the welfare sector that she's protected by you and not being held to account. As I speak to you even now, NGOs have not been paid in the Gauteng, and a lot of them, you started very nicely talking about the elderly being vaccinated, yet in the same breath, homes for elderly have not received disability, their grants so that they can remain operational. So in the spirit of looking after the elderly and the vulnerable, please, HOD, I've spoken to MECs in the past. I'm worried about social development. The vulnerable of this province are suffering under the leadership of the HOD. I cannot look at MECs because you've had so many of them taking over that department. So it is my appeal to you to say, stop protecting the HOD. Please deal decisively with her non-performance in social development. I thank you.
Honorable Premier.
Well, I know so Honorable Nsekhe started by saying there's a rumor. Now I know she concludes by saying she's the source of the rumor. So she says there's a rumor that you are protecting the HOD. Now we know what the source of the rumor is. And people who are rumor mongers do that all the time. They just expose themselves because they say so and so, so and so until it gets to them that they are actually the ones responsible. You Honorable Nsekhe, you have not, I assume you have not even talked to MEC Musupye about the issue of the alleged non-payment of NGOs and NPOs.
Of course I have.
Of what is her explanation? May I ask you what is her explanation?
The one I've had since 2014.
Honorable Nsekhe, you can't, in terms of the rules, you can't respond after the Premier has responded.
Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. The point I just want to point out, Madam Speaker, is that, you know, when a member is
Honorable Gabo, we can't even hear the Premier, please.
So you have a member who's not looking for an answer. The MEC gives her an answer. All she's looking for is boldly to come here and say, there's a rumor, when in fact she is the source of the rumor. So you got an explanation from the MEC for social development, and let me explain to you what our position has always been. And these matters have gone to the Executive Council. The firstly is that we never justify when there is non-payment either of NPOs or NGOs that are doing critically important work for this sector of our population, whether it's children, because this department has a responsibility to address issues of the most vulnerable, children, the elderly people, people with disability. And in many instances, this department also help us to deal with rehabilitating young people who are lost to drugs. So if there are specific departmental issues that have led to non-payment, the first thing I want to say on behalf of the provincial government is that this provincial government never justifies, whether it's non-payment of service providers, we never stand on the defense and justify whatever bureaucratic reasons that it hasn't happened. I am certain that MEC Musupye, as the executive authority of the Department of Social Development, is doing everything very, very competently to ensure that that department rises to the occasion. That department is critical, is at the center of fighting poverty and hunger in our province and dealing with issues of assisting the most vulnerable. So MEC Msupe is the competent and experienced MEC who is attending to all these things. I have absolute confidence in her ability to resolve everything. If there's an official who is not doing what they are supposed to do, this is how I work with MEC. I don't get into a department unless if it's based on investigation. I don't get into a department and suspend a head of department. I don't work like that. It will have, if it's about performance, it will have to come from the performance processes. And if it's about total failure of implementing specific issues, the executive authority of the department is the MEC. The MEC, the relevant MEC will come to me and say, Premier, I have a problem with my official who is not living up to that expectation of what we need to do. So I have absolute confidence in the ability and capacity of MEC Msupe to give leadership to this department. I cannot rely on a rumor monger who is masquerading as a public representative.
Next question, Honorable Lidwaba to the Premier.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I, Honorable Dolile Dwaba of the African National Congress, hereby request in terms of Rule 138, placing of a request for oral reply by the Office of the Premier. Noting the scourge of gender violence in the country, and that the President of South Africa said gender-based violence must be considered as a second pandemic in the country, as serious as coronavirus. Can the Premier please indicate what systems has the Gauteng provincial government put in place to fight the scourge of gender-based violence? Is there a GPG-wide program directed at fighting gender-based violence? Number two, are the systems yielding any positive results in the fight against gender-based violence? I submit. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think the important question asked by Honorable Lidwaba is on a matter that is affecting more than half of the population of our country. As correctly defined by the President, that's the second pandemic, gender-based violence. The Gauteng provincial government has adopted an integrated provincial response plan on gender-based violence. And this integrated provincial response plan is based on the national emergency plan that the President has put forward for our country. And every province has to put in place not just structures, but programs to address issues of gender-based violence seriously as a deep scourge and an epidemic that is affecting more than half of the population of our country. The responsibility of the structures we have put in place are specifically led by MEC Faith Mazbuka, the Community Safety MEC, but I do, as the Premier of the province, have a direct oversight on matters with respect to the response plan, the gender-based violence response plan of the province. Again, I want to emphasize it was informed by the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, which is a program the whole country is following, including the resourcing of that. Coordination structures have been put in place. The first thing I would like to say is that we will not be able to address gender-based violence if we don't have a multi-stakeholder and multi-sectoral approach. This is something born out of experience that we need coordination across the different sectors and the law enforcement agencies and the institutions of the justice institutions are just but one area, but we need significant coordination. We also need grassroots work, and that grassroots work in Gauteng is led by the brigades, the gender-based violence and femicide brigades, which have been established. We have reported during the State of the Province address and in many speeches by MEC Matsbuko that in Gauteng Province we've got grassroots teams that are doing work at street level, visiting every household. So on the one hand, we have social development. I mean, we have law enforcement agencies that are carrying out operations that are arresting people. I'm going to give some report in response to this question about yielding results, and just to indicate what we have been able to achieve. Although the statistics are still very high, Gauteng leads the rest of the country with regard to sexual offences, and that's a matter of great concern. But we are rolling out comprehensive measures. We are also working. Our Department of Social Development is leading the program of victim empowerment centers, the rollout of victim empowerment centers, accrediting them and ensuring that the victims of gender-based violence particularly transition from just being victims to survivors, and they take charge of their own lives. So the interventions around victim empowerment also go to police stations, a lot of training and setting up of specific units in each police station, including the people who do the actual handling of those cases in our police stations, being people who are appropriately trained. That's a very important area of work. I want to share with the House in response to this question that some of the significant progress that we are reporting is that there are more convictions that are taking place in our province out of the work that is done both at a grassroots level to encourage victims of gender-based violence and femicide to report the cases, the work that's being done to conscientize the police. As I said, even in police stations, we're now setting up specific units there where people who will be interviewing a victim. In the past, and it's still happening in many areas, complaints always about how the police handle these matters always come to the fore. As a result, increasing convictions of those who are arrested for cases of gender-based violence and femicide, especially the killing of women and children. The number of those cases have been increasing in a large way. Life imprisonment. We have in the 2021 financial year 53 people who have been sentenced to life imprisonment. Those sentenced to 20 years, we have 13 people who have been sentenced to 20 years. And those sentenced to between 10 and 19 years, we have 59 people who have been sentenced. And we have a larger number of people who have been sentenced to between 1 and 9 years. So we are also monitoring the actual arrest and convictions. And this is extremely important. I want to say that the Department of Social Development is supporting 98 victim empowerment centers, working with community safety on this, but we also have a province, departments-wide, provincial government-wide for every provincial department a program. In our province, we have hotspots. We have been mapping out the areas that are hotspots of sexual offences in Gauteng. In the latest report by the National Police Minister, Diepsloot is a hotspot of sexual offences. We've got a number of those areas in our province. I've said Diepsloot has the largest number of those cases. In addition to Diepsloot, we've got other areas like Temba in Hammanskraal, Dobsonville in Soweto, and these are linked to police stations: Moroka, Diepsloot, Mamelodi East, Tembisa, Hillbrow. So a number of those. The good thing, Honorable Dolile Dwaba, the good thing is that we have just received research that was conducted by our brigades doing door-to-door work. This is the most accurate research that is now directing our intervention. So our gender-based GBV response plan is now going to be directed based on very, very accurate research. We would like this research to be shared with the legislature in particular, which has got the very insightful outcomes. The first one is that 66% of all cases of GBV cases occur at home. And I think it's important to understand that you can only deal with gender-based violence by focusing principally, because this is a social crime. It occurs in people's homes. So 66% of the cases of GBV occurs in home and amongst people who know each other. That's the second important indicator that is critical is about the causes. 38% of GBV cases, this is what comes directly from both victims of GBV, but also people in the communities who have been interviewed by the GBV brigades. 38% of these cases stem from substance abuse. So MEC for Community Safety always raises this issue around the relationship between substance abuse and crime, and in this particular case, crimes against women and children. 38% of the GBV cases are coming as a result of people who are abusing substances. And then others, another 30% is born out of issues that have to do with the conditions, particularly of women who are too dependent in the relationships on the abusers, on men who are abusing them. And that's an important indicator of what needs to be done. The other important thing that has come out of this study is that the police, people know that they need to report these cases to the police, but there are 55% of people who are affected or who are interviewed do not trust the police. So policing is a very, very important matter. And even as cases are reported, some instances, the reason cases are not reported is because the victims are afraid of the perpetrator, and sometimes they feel the perpetrator may be getting some favors from police, or they may be released. So there are issues pertaining to the police. So Honorable Ledwaba, the question that was asked to most participants is whether government is doing enough to fight gender-based violence and femicide in the study. I don't want to give you my opinion, so whether these responses are yielding results. So 52% of the people who were interviewed, this is in different wards in Gauteng province, 52% of the people who were interviewed are saying government is doing enough. Now 52% is not what we would want, but it is showing that these interventions are beginning to make a positive impact on the ground, whereas 47% is saying that government is not doing enough. 52% says government is doing enough. We would like a situation where people feel that government is doing everything in its power. And part of government is ensuring that we enhance the capacity of the police to respond. As I say, we have too many people who are saying the police are not doing a very good work, despite the efforts that we see with Operation Okaimula. So I want to therefore say that, Honorable Ledwaba, I think the measures that we have put in place have a long way to go to really make women feel safe, and women in particular, and children, but also people with from the LGBTIQ community. We have seen in the recent period the murder of people from the LGBTIQ community this is a gender question. It is based on people's perceptions and attitude to that community because of matters. It's a gender question. The issue of sexual orientation has a direct relationship with attitudes of people to the fundamental question of gender relations. So from where we stand, there is some improvements. As I say, 52% of the people, just based on the GBV brigades work on the ground. Significant work that's being done by collaboration of various departments, and some interventions around securing prosecutions and convictions. But it's still not enough. This province is still a terrible place when it comes to women and children and people with the people from the LGBTIQ community. But there is progress, and we want to do more by ensuring that we enhance multi-stakeholder and multi-sectoral and interdepartmental collaboration to make sure that we overcome this scourge. Thank you.
Honorable Dwaba, do you have a supplementary question or a short remark?
No, thank you very much, Speaker. The response was very brilliant and very informative. Thank you, Premier. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Next question, Honorable Kanyile to the Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With celebrations of Africa Day approaching on 25 May 2021, and Gauteng having committed to building a better Africa through GGT 2030, can the Premier indicate, what is the impact of the key priorities of GGT 2030 on building a better Africa? 2, give an assessment of the impact of the objectives of GGT 2030 on African nationals residing in Gauteng. 3, indicate if in his assessment the African nationals living in Gauteng are contributing towards the realization of the objectives of GGT 2030. And 4, indicate the efforts by Gauteng provincial government to mobilize Gauteng society to be actively involved in ensuring the successes of GGT 2030 objectives on building a better Africa. Thank you.
Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm quickly just getting my response, my reply to Honorable Kanyile in order. Thank you very much, Honorable Kanyile. I am going to summarize what is a very comprehensive response to you. That firstly, the ANC-led government has always understood and believed that the future and prosperity of our country is tied with the future and prosperity of the SADC region and the African continent as a whole. That's a fundamental philosophical belief that we can't have we can't achieve an island of prosperity in a sea of poverty. So peace and development in our continent that's why we have invested so much effort to ensure that there's peace and development in our continent. In Gauteng province, we have also understood that this province, which is the economic hub of South Africa, must pull its full weight and actually punch above its weight as the industrial engine and financial nerve center of sub-Saharan Africa and contribute significantly to the economic integration of our continent and the industrialization of our continent. When we adopted the program for radical transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization of our city region, we also made it clear that one of the pillars of that, the 10th pillar, was about taking a lead in Africa's industrialization and economic integration. And that TMR is underbedding the GGT 2030. In other words, our plan to grow Gauteng together, it's anchored around the TMR. When we adopted the Growing Gauteng Together as a plan of action, we also said that one of the priorities of Growing Gauteng Together is building a better Africa and a better world. So there's consistency between our programs at different points and our vision for our continent and our vision for our country and our vision for our province, even if we have moved from different programs over the last 2.5 decades, but the ANC-led government from national level to provincial level to local level is guided by this conviction that we cannot build a better country or even build just a better continent unless there is peace all over the world and solidarity. So there is evidence, Honorable Kanyile, to point to the fact that indeed our province has been playing a key role in promoting inter-Africa trade, and that we are contributing to the industrialization agenda. Where is that evidence? Between 2014 and 2019, Gauteng businesses that were able to invest in the different regions of our continent are now more than 200. And those businesses have invested over 350 billion rands in infrastructure, in finance, and in industrial projects and services in the different parts of the continent. Those are Gauteng-based businesses. In the same period, between 2014 and 2019, Gauteng exports in the SADC region have been 562 billion rands of goods and services. This province is the mover of the SADC region. So in other words, 69% of all exports into the SADC region come out of the Gauteng economy. Annual growth rates of our exports, this happened even in the midst of COVID, especially in agricultural products. Annual growth rates of Gauteng exports have increased by 3.7% into the SADC region in particular. Increased from 85 billion to 103 billion. And we receive imports, in other words, imports from the SADC region into our province. Those imports are worth 128 billion. So we do get, as a province, not just the country, we get very good trade surplus into our economy as a result of our integrally linked relationship with the SADC region and sub-Saharan Africa. So, and trade and investment into the continent contributes more than 50,000 jobs in the Gauteng economy. So far, as I said, the key commodities that are key in the trade and the trade within the continent are our agricultural products, especially agro-processed food and packaged food, as well as the mineral products. Those are the key ones that are the leaders in our trade, what comes out of the Gauteng economy. This means that we need to do a bit more to ensure that manufactured products, actually, it is the manufactured products that we need. In the context of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we need to make sure that we manufacture more and export more out of the Gauteng economy into the African continent, the rest of the African continent. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area will connect 1.3 billion people from 55 countries with a combined economy GDP of $3.4 trillion. And as a province, we have positioned our economy around the network of special economic zones. Those special economic zones are principally to manufacture high-value products which must be exported into the Africa Continental Free Trade Area as our contribution to making made in Africa. It is these special economic zones that will contribute to goods and services made in Africa, so that Africans are able to manufacture and process agricultural products, produce enough food to feed Africans, and manufacture goods that are needed by the African market of 1.3 billion. We need that. So this strategy around special economic zones and the development of high growth sectors is very much linked, Honorable Kanyile, to our strategy to build a better Africa. It is linked to that in a very comprehensive way. We do so through various partnerships, trade networks and trade platforms, including ensuring that we remain a gateway into Africa. We actively go out there to talk to global companies that want to do business in our continent. We get them to locate in our province. Even if they are not doing other businesses, their headquarters and services are based here. And for that reason, they contribute enormously to our economy. They create jobs from headquarters, value chains, even if they do work in Namibia or they do work in East Africa. Those global companies that are located in our province add value to our economy in many, many respects as part of our gateway position. We also undertake lots of activities led by our agencies to East Africa, to West Africa region, to identify opportunities, also to get a lot of our local businesses to be able to export what they produce in the Gauteng economy to the different parts of the regions. So what has been the impact of the objectives of GGT 2030 on African nationals? As the one important thing we must say, Honorable Kanyile, is that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area will not succeed if we don't ensure that there is a conducive environment for goods and services to move with ease between including people, between African countries. But that means that we must ensure that there's rule of law, even in that instance, except for refugees and those who are running away from war, who must be accredited appropriately. The rest of economic migrants must come through the way that economic migrants go to different parts of the world. They must be accredited. And the economic migrants, people who have chosen to come and work or do business in our province, need proper documentation, proper accreditation, and for that reason, we work with the various embassies. We were doing this last week, just 2 weeks ago. We have been engaging with various embassies, including the SADC as an organ itself, to ensure that we facilitate issues of trade and investment, but we also address issues of migrants and refugees. We are also working with migrant organizations together with law enforcement also to mobilize the migrants who are in our country must be law abiding and they must observe the laws of our country. But also ensure that those who may be committing crimes, we mobilize that the various sectors working with law enforcement, that our law must be applied without fear or favor. But we also use Africa Month. This is my last point. Africa Month, Honorable Kanyile, is used to promote cultural ties, the issues of culture, the issues of sports, but also the economic ties that we want to strengthen between different African countries. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area will not succeed as long as there are conflicts amongst different African countries or the internal in the different African countries. So addressing issues of conflict is absolutely important, but also ensuring that we deal with the outbreak of xenophobic violence. And in many instances, we can only address these issues when we also make sure that the locals, in accordance with our own laws, especially in the economy, the local business people must always feel that they have their government is supporting them at every level of support is provided for local businesses to thrive. And an impression that localities are dominated by foreign businesses is something that we're addressing through the Township Economic Development Bill, which is going to come before this House very, very soon. So that's our approach to building a better Africa in particular and taking full advantages of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
Honorable Kanyile, do you have a supplementary question or a short remark?
Thank you, Speaker. Just a short remark. I want to appreciate the information. I know that the Premier said that it's a summary of what he was going to respond. I'm hoping that he'll be able to provide the details later. But just to say that the success of Africa Day, Africa Month, does not really depend on what is made during the report, even if the right message. The success depends on the practical work and efforts we are putting to realize the development of Africa. And in the response that the Premier has given, I think he has confirmed that GGT 2030 is not just a talk show, but it has already implemented and continues to implement programs towards the realization of this noble idea. I want to appreciate the confirmation by the Premier that illegality and illegal acts must be dealt with accordingly, irrespective of who is involved. And this should be about ensuring that the citizens, which include both those who are foreign nationals who are legal in our country, and those and the citizens of the province themselves are and continue to feel safe. Thank you, Premier.
Next question, Honorable Ghana to the Premier.
Nakensa, Madam Speaker. Tatala Makura, given the impact of COVID-19 on the Gauteng economy as evidenced by the GDP figures and employment statistics, could you please indicate, 1, has the province developed an economic recovery plan? 2, at what stage is the plan at the moment? 3, which industries in Gauteng are targeted to boost the economic recovery for the people of Gauteng? And then lastly, when will the plan be tabled in this House? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Premier.
Thank you very much, Tatan Ghana, for that question. Yes, the Gauteng provincial government, in fact, is the GCR, the Gauteng City Region, has adopted an implementation plan. We call it Implementation Plan of the National Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan because there is a national plan unveiled by the President. And as a province, together with our district and metro municipalities, working through the Provincial Command Council last year, we developed an implementation plan. And that implementation plan is focusing on the following issues. Firstly, it is an adaptation of Growing Gauteng Together. The economic section of Growing Gauteng Together have been adapted in the context of the impact of COVID-19 on the Gauteng economy. So our implementation plan is based on the following. Firstly, we want, and this is important because that's the overriding imperative of the National Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. We don't want to return to the economy that we have inherited post-COVID. We want to build a radically transformed and more inclusive economy that grows through inclusion, that integrates different sections of the population, and that integrates the different parts of our province. We don't want to go back to an economy that leaves out particularly the two poorest districts of our province. And we don't want to go back to an economy just driven by metros, where growth is just coming from metros, and that growth is only driven by specific sectors that are not transformed and that are not getting transformed. So this plan firstly is based on promoting and supporting SMMEs and township enterprises. Secondly, this plan places the infrastructure development and investment as a catalyst, especially for district development. And by district, in this particular case, we use the district development model to refer to all the five districts and metros. So investing, taking infrastructure to these districts as a catalyst is the second important area of the implementation plan. Thirdly, building partnerships between the private and public sector. So our plan is very much a partnership effort that in many instances, the demonstration of those partnerships between the private and the public sector is coming to the fore and is becoming evident more and more. And the fourth point about this plan is about catalyzing the development of special economic zone. And on that, we are not retreating. We are working with a concerted effort. We started with the Tshwane Automotive Special Economic Zone, building on the experience of the Industrial Development Zone of OR Tambo. In the last Honorable Ghana, in the last 3 months in particular, we've been focusing on the Vaal Special Economic Zone and the West Rand Agro-Processing Zone. So we do that on a consistent basis, working with the business sector, working with the municipalities, and this is not a once-off effort to drive this agenda of the special economic zones. And what we are achieving in one area, we take these lessons to the other. So the special economic zones are an important pillar of our plan, as I have said. Those are the four critical pillars of our plan. Again, I've said SMME and township economic development, infrastructure as a catalyst, and partnership between the private and the public sector, and rolling out special economic zone. At what stage is the plan? I've just shared with you that the significant amount of work. I will give you a more detailed reply on what we have done so far and what we are doing with the work on SMME support and township enterprise, the township economic development. Act and the work we are doing on infrastructure investment and the specific areas of partnership. So the details of that is in the plan, and as well as the progress on special economic zones. There are specific numbers, including the investments. We have just completed a session with business people in the Western Corridor around the agro-processing special economic zone. Those business people, we met with them last week. Those business people themselves have pledged that their investment into the West Rand special economic zone will be 46 billion rands. We have come to this house to report about the Tshwane special economic zone, and we are following up on the Vaal special economic zone, Vaal River City special economic zone, and those details you will get them. Which industries are targeted, which is the last but one question. We have what we call the 10 high growth sectors, Honorable Ghana. The 10 high growth sectors include the following: transport and logistics, which is key, including key for the link with into the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. The energy sector, especially diversifying the energy mix in our province. We've got key businesses that are coming into the energy space. Some of them are coming with renewable energy investments, like in the special economic zone, in the West Rand and in Ekurhuleni, and in transforming some of the old energy infrastructure in Tshwane, Johannesburg, and Ekurhuleni. The third sector is the ICT and digital sector of our economy. We have been doing significant work with the private sector. One of the reasons South Africa was rated #1 on the BPO, the business services sector, is because of the work we are doing, Honorable Ghana. We have been doing that work through what we call the action labs. These action labs are partnerships, are sessions between the private sector and government to unlock opportunities, to address red tape, to address issues of skills, to deal with infrastructure issues and the ease of doing business. We're doing the same with tourism and hospitality. So tourism and hospitality is an important sector in Gauteng. Yes, it's not the same as in other provinces. It's a different type of tourism. Food, agro-processing and agribusiness, construction and infrastructure, the automotive, defense and aerospace, financial services, the cultural and creative industries. And the last sector, which is a new sector, is the industrialization of cannabis. So those would be the sectors. You asked the question, when will the plan be tabled to the House? In the State of the Province address, Honorable Ghana, the issues I covered in the economy, you remember the priority #2 was about reigniting the economy. All the issues we are raising there are part of the plan. But if you're saying that the plan must be tabled to the MEC for Economic Development, I will mandate, if the House say, let's table the plan and have a specific debate on the implementation plan on the reconstruction and recovery of the Gauteng economy, I would support that. I wouldn't be opposed, but I would say that it should be tabled by the MEC for Economic Development. If this House so wish, we can debate the plan, but the plan is currently being implemented vigorously by us and the different districts and metros in Gauteng. There's no municipality in Gauteng, especially a district and metro, that is missing our firm hand on working with them on this plan. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Ghana, do you have a short remark or a question?
Thanks very much. It's a supplementary question. Mr. Premier, thanks. I think this plan that you have you will agree with me that it currently exists in your corridors, and not the people of Gauteng don't know about it, and that's what the problem is. You see, if this plan was tabled properly in this house, the people of Gauteng will know about it. As things stand now, you can ask, if I were to ask any member, even member of this house, to say, what is the plan about? They will say, we don't know about it. Maybe I will agree with your last statement. We have called a special sitting of this house to give us a political report. Call a special sitting of this house to table the economic recovery plan of Gauteng. And that is something that from the DA will support. Cut the political report and schedule a sitting to discuss the economic recovery of Gauteng. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Premier.
Well, let me say, Honourable Speaker, I don't discuss programming. It is not in my purview. We've got a programming committee. But if the provincial government is asked to table a plan, we are ready. I hear, one of the interesting things about politicians is so I hear Honorable Ghana translating himself into the people of Gauteng. So he says the people of Gauteng don't know the plan. So if you don't know the plan, Honorable Ghana, and you have asked questions about this plan, don't make yourself the people of Gauteng. You are Honorable Ghana Makashi. You are not the people of Gauteng.
Thank you. Thank you, Premier.
So, Honorable Speaker, I'm therefore saying I can't cancel the programs you have put. So, if the legislature says, as the legislature, that we would like to have a debate on the implementation plan of the economic reconstruction and recovery of the Gauteng economy, we will be ready from the executive to do that. But it cannot be something that is smuggled. If it is a motion, it must go through its proper processes of scheduling, because I don't want the people of Gauteng, Honorable Ghana Makashule, the people of Gauteng, and I don't think the people of Gauteng will be like him. I don't want him to say, but Premier, we agreed that you must present the plan. I am ready. The Provincial Executive Council is ready if the House so wishes. But we are implementing the plan, Honorable Speaker. That's why the people of Gauteng know about this plan. But there is one member who's here who is waiting for the plan because he's not on the ground. He's not engaging on the ground. But we are willing to get him informed.
Thank you, Premier. That concludes the Premier's question time. We're now going to deal with the second item, which is questions for oral reply to the executive in terms of Rule 134, starting with the question from Honorable Dikhamela to MEC for Health.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Regarding the Bronx Great Hospital, the criteria to be a district hospital, the information is that the hospital receives a boost to build extra facilities so that the community in Region 7 in Tshwane receives specific services in the local area. The hospital has not been gazetted to be a district hospital yet. We know that the hospital budget is often underspent at that place, while patient administration system remains manual, and the hospital board is supported by junior officials. Can the MEC answer the following questions? How far is the process that is undertaken to fast-track the gazetting of the Great Hospital? What are the reasons for the budget underspending in that facility? What is the departmental plan to assist the facility to cap underspending? What plans to strengthen the support to the board of bronchosprate hospitals in the place of the junior officials currently being utilized. And lastly, what plans are in place to improve on the filing system at the bronchosprate hospital that still uses a manual system? Thank you, Speaker.
Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable Chief Whip, MECs, and Honorable members. Morning. Honorable Speaker, we had a challenge with regard to HLO 10, HLO 11, and HLO 12. We notified the legislature on the 3rd of May 2021 that the sequence of the questions are not correct. We then resolved with the legislature yesterday that they will send the questions to us so that we can respond to them on the 1st of June 2021. And currently, the only question that was sent to us was HLO 13, if the Speaker may allow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Honorable MEC, I was informed about that challenge, which you need to actually look into your department and correct properly, because the first letter that you got from yourself was to request for an extension, and that was granted. What we got yesterday was that we need to provide a second extension, which in terms of the rules is not allowed, but we'll deal with that particular matter. But in terms of these questions, we have spoken to Honorable De Khamela regarding how we need to manage that question, and she has agreed that we can put that into the next question day. I'm sure that also goes to the next question that we're not going to deal with. But MEC, can you ensure that there's an oversight that is played within the department itself, so that we don't find ourselves in this predicament? I'm sure that will also go to the next question, which is a question by Honorable Mabunda, because all those three questions, I think there was a challenge. Can you therefore, in that light, MEC, can you take the question by Honorable Bakakula?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, a question to the MEC for Health. Noting the funeral undertakers' national strike that took place in September 2020 and the impact it had on various hospitals across the country, can the MEC please indicate if the Gauteng Department of Health has systems in place to alleviate negative impact caused by strikes of this nature? And if yes, what are those systems? And if not, why not? Thank you.
Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Magagula, for the question. Response to question 1. Yes, the Gauteng Department of Health has systems in place to alleviate negative impact caused by strikes of this nature. Response to question 2. There are the systems, the utilization of the skills of the managers at forensic pathology services in the hospitals through the interaction and integration with the hospital managers and the staff as the management of human remains from the time of death to their final disposal or collection for burial or cremation in their core function. And that B, deployment of the forensic pathology services staff and vehicles to assist with the pickup of bodies or human remains from the various death scenes, be it homes, roads, and industry, to anywhere else, to hospital or forensic pathology services, mortuaries, for storage or collection from these mortuaries to homes prior to burials or cremation. The other system is the deployment of the recently acquired COVID-19 temporary workers to beef up the needed manpower in their times of such challenges, or be due to the industrial action or any other cause of a sudden increase of the need for storage or transportation of human remains or from places of storage as explained above. And the other one is making available the storage of forensic pathology facilities in case the private funeral undertakers mortuaries are not available due to such strikes or any other cause. The last one is calling for the SAPs to cover where there are threats to staff and or property. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Makakula, any supplementary?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I'm covered, but just a comment that I hope that all these responses are communicated accordingly to the relevant stakeholders. Thank you.
Next question, Honorable Moriarty to MEC for COPTA and Human Settlement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to ask the MEC for Cooperative Governance, Traditional Affairs and Human Settlements, further to question 4 COPTA and HS 013 of 2020, and to confirm that the MEC for COPTA is responsible for the appointment and functioning of the Valuation Appeal Board in terms of the Municipal Property Rates Amendment Act of 2014. Would the MEC please indicate, 1, what is the updated status of the appeals before the Valuation Appeals Board for the City of Johannesburg for 2013 and 2018? 2, what steps will the MEC be taking to increase the capacity of the Valuation Appeals Board for the City of Johannesburg so that there is not a perpetual process of handling appeals? 3, if no steps are being taken, then why not, considering that appeals for 2013 will only be concluded before the 2023 process is due to commence? 4, how many people have been or are serving on the Valuation Appeals Board for the City of Johannesburg from 2013 to present? And 5, how much in total has been paid to these individuals to date? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable MEC.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The answer to question 1 is as follows. For 2013, for the main and all the information received was as follows. There were 91,678 objections, and there were 44,850 reviews. There were about 8,470 appeals. And as at the end of March 2021, there are about 18,446 reviews and 54 appeals outstanding for the 2013. And there are an additional 3,497 appeals and reviews related to 2013. For the main GV 2013 and all the supplementary roles, there are a total of 21,997 appeals and reviews outstanding. And for 2018, for the GV 2018 and all 2 supplementary thus far, the following was received: 53,435 objections, 24,956 reviews, 9,423 appeals. And as at the end of March 2021, there are 659 objections that needs to be finalized. These are outstanding due to more than one objection being lodged on a property. The team is busy finalizing the matters and should be concluded by end of May 2021. Of the reviews received, there are 8,344 outstanding, and there are about 6,583 appeals. On question 2, the MEC has appointed 3 appeal boards for the city of Joburg. Due to some resignations, some of the boards' performance was low, and the MEC has recently appointed alternate members to ensure that the boards are fully functional. The city manager wrote a letter to the appeals board chairs addressing the issues of the reviews and appeals, and the city manager requested that chairs assist the city in the process of fast-tracking the resolution of appeals and reviews. On question 3, on the 3 boards, 2 will concentrate on resolving 2030 matters, while the other board will concentrate on 2018 matters. Should the board working on 2018 conclude its matters, they will be requested to also assist the other 2 boards on the 2013 matters. The 2018 COCTA appointed 6 members. 1 of the members subsequently resigned, leaving 5 members who ended their term of office in 2017. There was 1 board in the city of Joburg, and they had a lot of matters. And as I've just said, we've put in place 3. The board was operational for more than 8 years. On 2013, COCTA appointed 5 members to the board. 1 of the members resigned in May 2015. Another moved to another board in March 2017. The rest of the members maintained their contractual obligations. On 2018, the city of Joburg made a request to COCTA to have more than 1 board, as I have said, and the request to have more than 1 board appointed was done to assist with the fast-tracking of the matters that were outstanding from 2013. And the response gives more details on each of the 3 boards. I think for sake of time, the member will be able to read those details. On the last question, we also provide details about the payments of these individuals since 2018, year by year, we're giving the details, so I will not give you those details year by year. However, cumulatively, the city has spent 25.4 million. The member can go through the response in terms of each year. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Any supplementary question?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable MEC, for a very comprehensive and full reply. There were certainly a lot of numbers in there, and I tried in vain to keep track of them all, but you have indicated that you will provide a written copy of your reply, and so I will read that with interest. But for what I took away from your comments was that there are certainly thousands still outstanding. You talked about 21,997 appeals and reviews outstanding from 2013 alone, but you indicated that you would complete by the end of May 2021. I would welcome that. That sounds very good if you can. But given that this has taken 8 years and we're now on the 18th of May, I find it incredible that you're going to take 13 days to resolve all of these things. But I wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to reading your written reply. Thank you very much.
Any comments, Honourable MEC?
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. The first thing is that I'm not doing these assessments. As you know, I only appoint these committees which work there in the municipalities. And when you ask me a question, I receive answers from them because they do this work. So this is their answer. I could have easily said, this is what they are saying and all that. So I'm not doing this work. That's what is important. But the second thing is in their answer, as I now answer you properly, in their answer, some of the matters related to May, it's for a specific period. So you will see in this, because there is no way, as you correctly say, that they would be able to deal with the backlog of 8 years in a few weeks' time. It's just not possible. But that's not what they are saying. So don't say that's what I'll be. That's not my responsibility. I don't deal with that. I just put the act empowers me to appoint the committees that deals with valuations and appeals, and it ends there, and they do the rest. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Next question, Honorable More, to MEC for COGTA and Human Settlement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Regarding an ANC councillor in Mogale City with a criminal record of rape, as confirmed by MEC for Community Safety in reply 5.PS086 of 2020, could the MEC provide the following details? Who is the ANC ward councillor in Mogale City with a criminal record of rape? Second question, why is the councillor with a criminal record, why he was sentenced to 9 years imprisonment without an option of a fine, allowed to serve as a public representative in local government? Thirdly, how long has the councillor been serving in council whilst having the criminal record? And finally, what steps are to be taken against a public representative with a criminal record serving in a public office?
I'm waiting for your guidance. Is it the chair?
Yeah, let me give the MEC to respond.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Answer to question 1 is that information regarding all councillors eligible to stand are submitted by their parties contesting elections in terms of Section 14 of the Local Government Municipal Electoral Act number 27 of 2000. And this information includes the declaration as required by Section 14 subsection 1 subsection A. The answer can be sought from the Independent Electoral Commission. The municipality does not have the information, so they did not give us the information at this stage as to who's the councillor. And if the member has, we'll ask him to give us that answer. On question 2, in terms of Section 47 subsection 1 subsection E of the Constitution, a disqualification ends 5 years after the sentence has been completed. As indicated above, the qualification of a councillor is determined in terms of Section 14 subsection 1 subsection A, read with Section 47 subsection 1 subsection E of the Constitution, and this information is processed solemnly by the IEC. And for any further information, the IEC is to be contacted to provide such information. On question 3, please refer to our responses on 1 and 2. On question 4, this matter is solemnly the responsibility of the IEC as per the Local Municipal Electoral Act, because they have the authority to decide who must be on the list or not, or should not be on the list. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I check with Honorable More if you have a supplementary question.
Yes, Chair, I've got a supplementary remark.
Can continue.
Honorable Presiding Officer, the party, ANC, that often pretends outrage when their councillors are often accused of rape, is the same party that is harboring an ANC ward councillor who has who is actually raped a DA councillor. And all seems fine and normal to the ANC. In this case, this is not just a rumor or an accusation, but a case that was investigated, taken to court, and judgment passed. And it is extremely disappointing. I'm sure the people of Gauteng, including organizations fighting for women's rights, will join me in expressing serious disappointment for the ANC to consider a convicted rape criminal as its candidate in municipal council and actually getting him elected. I'm not sure where the ANC Women's League would stand on this matter, as they have chose to be quiet. The victim had to endure 4 hard years in council, looking face to face with someone who had violated her, and courts having confirmed this kind of a violation. So this is very
You must deal with the supplementary question. If there's no supplementary, don't follow it.
Order, Honorable MPC. Can you conclude your remark, Honorable More? Concluded? Okay. MEC?
I'm done.
MEC, respond.
No, thank you very much, Comrade Chair, Honorable Chair of Chairs. The ANC's position on women abuse and children abuse it's recorded, it's very clear, and there is no contradiction about it, and we will never at any point as the ANC support any abusers of our women. We will never do that. The member asks me who is that person, and I'm saying I don't know that person. The member must give us the information, who is that person, give us all the details. And what I sought to do, what we did in our response was to also help the member. And if we were to have that information, we will definitely act decisively, was to also help the member and demonstrate that it is actually the responsibility of the IEC to deal with the matters of a member's eligibility for being in council, not that of MEC of Cogta. I know the DA chaps, sometimes when it's convenient, they want me to be a Superman and do the unthinkable and illegal things. But when we act decisively where they are affected, they always cry foul. So you should be consistent and don't expect me to do wrong things because it's in your interest as the DA. But I can certainly confirm to you that as the ANC leadership, we will not hesitate to act against anybody who's found on the wrong side of the law. And don't play politics and don't play to the gallery because you are not consistent. Just a few months ago, you expelled a woman who has been allegedly abused by your leader, the party there. So let's not play politics and deal with the issue at hand. If we've got a rapist sitting in a council, that is a matter of serious concern, and it can't be dealt with through politics. We must apply the law to the latter. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair of Chairs.
Thank you very much. Let me call upon Honorable Shackleton. Question to the MEC for Community Safety.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Through you to the Honourable MEC for Community Safety. With regard to the budget cuts to the South African Police Service, would the MEC please indicate, 1, what is the amount that has been cut in the policing budget for Gauteng? 2, how will this budget cut impact policing in the Gauteng province? And 3, does the department have contingency measures to deal with the impact of these budget cuts on community safety in the province? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair of Chairs, and thank you for the question, Honorable Member. In response to your question on question number 1, the answer is there has been no reduction in the policing budget for the province. On question number 2, if this will impact on policing Gauteng, the answer will be that won't necessarily be applicable because no money has been cut. On question number 3, if the department will be making any contingency measures, the answers will be no. You won't be making any because the SAPS in Gauteng, they have their monies as per allocation from national government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any supplementary question or remark?
Yes, please, Chairperson. It is possible the MEC won't have all the information with her now if I ask this as a question, but perhaps just a remark. Based on the MEC's answers, and yes, we don't have to like the answers, it is the answer that was provided, but it is then difficult to explain how when we visit any police station in the whole of Gauteng, anyone, we can choose one right now, they tell us that they have less police vehicles than they had last year, they have less staff than they had last year, they have less officers than they had last year, they have less fencing than they had last year, they have less computers than they had last year, and it goes so on and so forth, and they have less maintenance of officers than they had last year. It certainly appears that something is wrong. If that's not financial, if that's not some kind of reallocation of resources, then I don't know what it is. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. It was a remark, MEC, unless you have to respond.
Honorable House Chair, I do have a response. On the issue of cars in relation to police stations having lesser cars, the Honorable Member will be aware that most of the cars are either at garages or they have been boarded off. And even up to now, when we interact with the station now, we indicate to them, they must clearly indicate if they were granted 54 cars, but currently they have 34 cars. What has happened to the rest of the cars? They must indicate, is it boarded at the garage or what? It is not about the budget. It is about those resources that they have at the station level that sometimes they themselves do not necessarily use them appropriately. When it comes to offices, it is not the province that allocates offices, it is the Public Works Act National that allocates those offices. That was just a brief summary from for the Honourable Member to always remember when he is doing oversight on those matters. Thank you very much. Bye,
Thank you. Let me now call Honourable Malema, your question to the MEC for COCTA and Human Settlement.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair of the session, and greetings to the August sitting. Honourable Chair, with regard to improving governance within municipalities, could the MEC please indicate, 1, what support has the department given to municipalities in terms of addressing Auditor General's negative findings, particularly those with qualified audits? 2, what specific systematic programs or models have been put in place by the department to help municipalities improve financial management? And lastly, what remedial steps has COCTA taken to bring about corrective measures where there has been audit regression, if any? Thank you very much, Chair of the session.
Thank you very much. MEC.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member Malema, for the question. I have a very lengthy response for you. I won't take you through all of it. I'll ask that you read the question, or rather the answers, when we pass on the answering sheet. On the first answer, we've got what we call the Operation Clean Audit Provincial Coordinating Committee workshops. So the department established the Provincial Coordinating Committee, and the committee is monitoring and supporting structure, and is a supporting structure consisting of both government and key finance professional bodies across Gauteng. And the committee meets on a quarterly basis to workshop municipal audit resolution plans, and the following are key activities of the workshop sessions. All the stakeholders play a key role in assisting municipalities with the development, implementation, and monitoring of credible municipal audit response plans. And the committee, with the assistance of AG on quarterly basis, monitors the assessment of key controls and implementation of corrective actions with regard to key control deficiencies. And secondly, there's what they call municipal steering committee meetings. In addition, the department provides advisory support through participating in the municipal OPCA steering committee, which further monitors the implementation of audit response plans at the municipal level and are chaired by the MMs or CFOs. If adhered to, the OPCA steering committee assists in strengthening implementation of daily disciplines to prevent material adjustments and recurring audit issues. On question 2, the department has the following projects in place to support municipalities. The first one is called the implementation of the GRAP 17, which is a asset management support, and it's a very comprehensive treasury regulated and prescribed. You'll be able, it deals with the whole range of issues there, including assets, as I've said, the movable and immovable. So you'll be able to look at that. So the second one is the provision of professional services to Gauteng municipalities to resolve unauthorized, irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. And the objective of the project is to reduce and resolve the UIFW expenditure by undertaking the following activities. There's a whole range of activities there, which includes assess and analyze processes that are in place, look at the municipal audit outcomes, the process of recording and reporting in council, look at municipal policies, look at the strength of municipalities, how they deal with supply chain and all that. It's comprehensive. The member will be able to go through that. For the sake of time, I won't. And the next thing, it's Government Debt Management Committee. The department, together with Treasury, has set up Government Debt Management Committee engagements, and the objective of the committees are to fast-track payment of monies owed to municipalities by national and provincial government departments, and the committee meets on a quarterly basis. The meetings are facilitated to resolve any queries between the department and the municipalities. Furthermore, the engagements are aimed at ensuring that the debtors' information on government account is corrected in order to facilitate regular future payments for municipal services. The meeting recognized the importance of an interactive approach between municipalities and the affected government departments. And it gives more details there, Chair. Because of time, I will not go to all those details, but the IGR engagement managed to facilitate payment of rates and services to municipalities amounting to 694 billion in the past 3 years. And then there's issues of audit and correction of large power and water users' billing data, especially for your local municipalities. The objective of the project is to support the identified municipalities with additional capacity to ensure accurate billing of the large power and water users. And without going through all the details, appropriate analysis methodologies would be implemented to do the following, but not limited to reading errors, gaps in data and bills, meter time change spikes, communication errors, incorrect tariffs, incorrect billing component, bill transaction, trend anomalies, reading trend anomalies, and profile disturbances. The multidisciplinary team of revenue experts, the project aims to improve revenue collection, credit control implementation, and increase revenue base within the identified municipalities to strengthen revenue enhancement and data management, with a focus on having a positive impact on the liquidity of the municipalities. And they will be achieved through undertaking a number of functions, which that's another detail there, which I won't go through. However, through the multidisciplinary team of revenue expert projects at Merafong, Mfuleni, and Lesedi local municipalities, there were a number of issues that have been handled, and after having been identified, and we're giving details as well in terms of those, which includes amounts. So I would not go through those because it will take me a lot of time. On question 3, by the time we are answering this question, we would not have received all the audit outcomes of municipalities. But from where we are sitting, it's likely that the only two that would have regressed would be Mfuleni and Rand West. So we will not be able to confirm that. But to date, the department supported the municipalities through providing advisory support in their OPCA steering committee meetings. In addition, MEC of COCTA facilitated a learning session between Mfuleni and Ekurhuleni Metro to ensure financial management and improvement. The 2021 audit has not been concluded, as I've said, in Mfuleni and few other municipalities. And once concluded, the department will engage the municipality on the areas of regression and facilitate or provide hands-on support. The Rand West municipality regressed. Okay, I've dealt with that issue, and the department is currently engaging with the municipality. So thank you very much, Chair. The report is very comprehensive and lengthy. Rather than the response, we will pass it over to the member. Thank you.
Thank you, MEC. Let me get Honorable Malema, any remark or a question?
Honorable Chair, I am eloquently and cogently answered. Thank you very much to the Honorable MEC Maile. Indeed, I'll most definitely have to peruse the written response. Thank you so much. I'm greatly humbled.
Thank you very much. I will now call upon Honorable Ngube. Question to the MEC COCTA Human Settlement.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. With regards to municipal debt for utility bills to Eskom and Rand Water, could the MEC please indicate, 1, what is the total amount in rands and cents of municipal debt to Eskom and Rand Water, respectively, in the province? 2, how has the department tried to assist municipalities in line with Section 154 to resolve this? Lastly, what progress, if any, has been made in resolving this issue since the beginning of the 6th administration? Thank you.
Okay, Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Chair of Chairs. Deputy Chair of Chairs. There's a lot of numbers involved here per municipality, so I'm trying to, and what we've done, we've also categorized the debt of municipalities in terms of 30 days, 60 to 90 days. Just to give a clear picture. So when the member receives the answer, should be able to see that we are giving a response as at the 31st of March 2021. And the first one is on Eskom, and we're giving it per municipality. And the only municipalities that don't have overdue amount in terms of this report by the 31st of March would have been the city of Ekurhuleni, the city of Tshwane, and the city of Lesedi by the 31 of March. And just to add that, in addition, the city of Midvaal is one of those that are constantly paying well, and the rest, that's where we have problems. So that summarizes the answer on ESCOM. The same goes for Rand Water. And when you look at the amounts, because the member is interested in the amount, okay, the amounts for ESCOM, I think, I'm not sure if I agree with this, but just Fuleni, had about, in total is about 7 billion for the whole province. And for Rand Water, there's an interest and a portion that does not have interest as well. When you look at that portion with interest, there's about 10 billion, and the principal area amount would have been for everybody else. I'm just trying to check. Yeah, but I'll give you the ballpark figures, and then you will receive the other response per municipality. And then in terms of question 2, COPTA and Treasury support municipalities by facilitating meetings between the affected municipalities to negotiate more affordable payment plans to avoid the municipalities defaulting on plans. So in addition to many other things that we do, without repeating the answer I gave to member Malima and all those interventions in line with section 154, we also facilitate meetings. Unfortunately, we can't give municipalities money. They have to generate revenue and make sure that they pay their debt. All we can do is to create a conducive condition for them and negotiate favorable terms, which is what we do. We've had several meetings with Rand Water, for Mfuleni, for Mirafong, for Rand West, separately. And we have had meetings with ESCOM for Mfuleni, for Mirafong, for Rand West, separately. And we also met with them, with all other municipalities. I'm stating the municipalities that have experienced problems with both Rand Water and ESCOM, and there was a need to convene meetings with them. The others, there wasn't a need, except to say that during the lockdown, when municipalities were struggling to collect revenue, we had to convene meetings with both ESCOM and Rand Water and all the mayors in the province to engage with them on the difficulties that they're facing. Number 2, in addition, the department continues to support municipalities on the following areas to find solutions for the end-to-end of the billing process that will in turn increase revenue collection, as the research shows that the most defaulting clients to be both Rand Water and ESCOM are non-viable municipalities. So we need to strengthen the various aspects of the revenue value chain, which includes billing, data, credit control, valuations, indigent management, customer services, etc. Continue to focus on resolving top debtors in the line with the 2080 principle, develop a strategy to deal with the state with large power and water users, review standard operating processes for billing, explore partnership with best practitioners to address these challenges, deployment of revenue experts, as I've said, some of the issues I dealt with in the previous question, coordinate and support the payment of services by government departments and entities, which is work we're doing with the Treasury. On question 3, what progress? We have there in details on the engagement we had ourselves, Water, ESCOM, COCTA, and the Provincial Treasury. We stayed there, what's happening, and on Water meetings, we have had technical meetings between COCTA, Treasury, and Water officials, and there's details there in terms of what work they're doing. On political meeting between MEC, COCTA, Water, Board Chairperson, and the Minister of Human Settlement and Water and Sanitation, we also state the details there because we were joined by all the mayors as well. And then on ESCOM engagement, we also give details there in terms of the task team that we have established that is working with ESCOM. And on the interministerial task team, we participate as COCTA in the interministerial task team from time to time. That is convened by Minister of COCTA. So these answers must be read in line with the answers we provided in the last question asked by Honorable Malima, because I think they supplement each other. They're about the work we do as part of support, coordination, and oversight in the municipalities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MEC. Honorable Ngube, any supplementary question?
Just a comment that I've noted on question 1 and also on 2 and 3, for instance, he refers to the question that Honorable Mabunda has asked, but hoping that in the written response, I'll then get detailed responses. Thank you.
On that note, MEC, anything? It was just a remark.
No, thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You must expel the MM there in Rand West. Maile.
Order.
I'm going to deploy you there.
We're now getting to the 4th item, and which is the first order. Can you read the first order, Secretary? No, before the first order, we have the oral explanation, and let me start with the oral explanation, which is also for the MEC for Health. We have a question 5.HL033 and 5.HL047. Honorable MEC Muketi, could you please make an explanation, explain to this House as to why question 5.HL033 and 5.HL047 was not responded to? MEC?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair of Chairs. We have requested extension on 5HL033 and 5HL043 and 5HL045.
No, she can't respond to that one. She must be incompetent.
Can we have order? MEC, you are protected.
No,
can you continue?
she must just be removed. She can't even address the media. Makura address media. When crisis
can you be quiet?
You're out of order.
Okay. Yeah, continue, MEC.
Yes, thank you very much. 5HL047 has been responded to. We are still awaiting the response from the department, and we have requested extension, and it has been granted. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, but I must state, MEC, that in terms of the rules, it's not really permissible to extend for the second time. Then
No, we must charge. Yeah, we must charge that MEC.
Can you give me MEC? Let's get all those written responses, and with a very limited time, that the responses should be submitted in writing, and we'll make sure that we report to the House that those has been responded to. Thank you, MEC. Let's move to the fourth item. That is the first order. And here we have a motion, and that motion, can I give also the secretary to read the last order? Yeah.
Sorry, Honourable Deputy Chairs. The explanations from the Honourable MEC for COGTA and the Honourable MEC for Sport, please.
Oh, yeah, there is two more. Can you also respond to the other two, MEC? MEC, can you
Chair.
respond also to the other one so that we understand what is the explanation?
No, Chair, I said 5 HLO 45 and 47 have been submitted, Chair.
That's fine, because the other ones of COGTA, whatever, we have received all those written responses, Honourable Mriati. But for the health, it is very clear that we give this as an ultimatum that you must really respond to these issues.
Sorry, Honourable Deputy Chairs, also the MEC for Sport, have those...
Also, we've received the one for the sports. I should have really indicated that the one that you have not received, it was for health. So the matter, it has been done. Let's get to the fourth item, which is the first order. Read the first order, Secretary.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs. Motion on scrapping of e-toll on Gauteng's freeway in terms of Rule 121, Sub-Rule 1, Paragraph A, read with Rule 117, Sub-Rule 2. Thank you.
Honourable Msimang.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Chair of Chairs, or Deputy Chair of Chairs. I, Honourable Solim Simang, I table the following motions in terms of Rule 121(1)A, read with Rule 117(2). And it reads as follows: scrapping of e-tolls of the Gauteng freeways. Noting that, one, the e-tolls review panel established by Premier Makura strongly criticized the process of public consultation regarding the electronic tolling of Gauteng's freeway to pay the Gauteng Free Improvement Project. Two, that the SANRAL has had to undertake to write off 1.84 billion worth of debt due to failure of the e-toll system. Believing that the over 80% rejection rate of the Gauteng motorists to adhere to the collection system has rendered the e-toll project redundant. Further believing that the funding of the construction of the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project has already been provided for by way of a portion of the various bonds raised by the SANRAL for all the roads constructed and maintained nationally. Others means that there is also means such as fuel levy, which exists to ensure that SANRAL remains solvent and viable infrastructure for the development agency, or remains a development agency. But further, believing that the e-tolls has been imposed on the residents of Gauteng since December 2013. It is a system that has not worked and has placed undue burden on the residents of this province. The DA has always been opposed to the e-tolls, and this is not something that the residents of Gauteng were properly consulted on. To cover themselves, SANRAL took out the advert in 6 newspapers in October 2007, and in a measly attempt to consult the public, they only got about 28 responses, of which one of them was a petition with 55 signatures. Despite the low number of responses, SANRAL was satisfied that it had done all that it could to engage with the public on the matter and then proceeded with the system. In 2018, the DA raised some serious concerns about the e-toll system and that the impact it would have on motorists when the demerit system would be implemented by the government. With this unfair system, for each infringement incurred by the driver, a certain number of points or fine would be imposed. This meant that at the time, that in 2018, that not paying for your e-tolls will amount to will be equivalent to you ignoring a stop sign and would see a driver lose a demerit point. When we revealed this, the ANC-led government under the leadership of Premier Makura insisted that the solution to the e-tolls would be found and would be found very soon. The Deputy Chair of Chairs, Premier Makura, quickly tried to assure residents that the solution would be found to e-tolls. Later, in 2018, MEC Lesufi announced that e-tolls would be gone before the May general elections 2019. It is now 2021, and guess what? E-tolls are still with us. Early this year, the National Minister of Transport, Ntate Fikile Mbalula, announced that by the end of March this year, an announcement will be made on e-tolls. And what has that announcement resulted in? Nothing. Not only do we still have a system in place, but we're none the wiser in terms of what is to happen going forward. Residents of Gauteng now still need to fork out more for electricity, for food, amongst other things. It is clear that all the ANC-led government is doing is to use the e-toll issue during an election year as a ploy to get votes. But when it actually comes to ensuring that the promises are delivered on the ruling party, they're absolutely nowhere to be found. Our resident deserves better than empty promises. Year after year, in fact, Deputy Chair of Chairs, Premier Makura's very own team, as I said earlier on, found that this was a non-feasible initiative, and that the people of Gauteng has rejected this. So we as the DA, we call on you, Premier Makura, to lodge an intergovernmental dispute on e-tolls. It is clear that this is the only solution left to finding a way forward. The user pay approach is not working in Gauteng, and that more inclusive process of paying for the upgrades of our road is needed if we are to ensure that every resident buys into the process going forward. In order to solve this, we urge Premier Makura to put residents first and to please fast-track the processing of abandoning e-tolls in Gauteng and present this House with an intergovernmental plan to scrap e-tolls within the next 30 days. The residents of Gauteng deserve to be released from the burden of a disastrous income-eating termite of a tolling system that has threatened to turn law-abiding citizens into criminals. It is therefore that this House must resolve that the House declare the e-toll project a failed financing model, and its continuation will jeopardize the future development of roads and the economy of Gauteng and throughout South Africa. That too, Gauteng Premier David Makura must fast-track the process of abandoning the e-toll process or the e-toll project with the national counterparts in Treasury and the Department of Roads and Transport. And 3, that Premier Makura present this House with an intergovernmental plan to scrap e-tolls within the 30 days from the motions having in this House. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mngube. Honorable Mngube, can continue. Order. Can we get the technicians? Can we get? Yeah, on the floor, Honorable Ngube.
Honorable Deputy Chairperson, Honorable Premier, Honorable MECs, Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party and other political parties, Honorable members of this august House and people of Gauteng, revolutionary greetings to you all. Happy Africa Month and Happy Mother's Month. It is a privilege to be one of the speakers on behalf of my party during this most important month. The former president, His Excellency Mr. Thabo Mvuyelwa Mbeki, once said, whatever difficulties, Africa shall be at peace. However improbable it may sound to the skeptics, Africa will prosper. Whoever we may be, whatever our immediate interests, however much we carry baggage from our past, However much we have been caught by the fashion of cynicism and loss of faith in the capacity of the people, let us err today and say nothing will stop us. Honorable Deputy Chair, these words were relevant then and still are today. This motion reminded me of this quote. It is therefore worth noting that upon taking over in 1994, the ANC-led government inherited a lot of colonial and apartheid laws, which had to be repealed in order to redress the past imbalances. These were in most, if not all, spheres of government, including the transport sector. I will just mention a few of them or their negative impacts: the influx control, separate development, TVPC or Homeland System, Spatial Planning, Group Areas Act, forced removals, and etc. In the transport sector, the apartheid transport policy deprived majority of people of their decency, beyond dignity, by giving them a mixture of patched up third-rate public transport. Let us remember that the black people in the cities were meant to only provide their labor. The transport was also meant to only bring them to work. The masses of blacks and Africans in particular will be packed like sardines in a tin in trains and buses, while the other half, yes, the white people, will be seated comfortably in their posh designated areas. It exposed commuters to vast walking distances with no attention paid to their general safety or off the road. Repealing these unjust laws and redressing these atrocities, it is therefore not an easy task like a bed of roses, given the circumstances in which it has to happen. For instance, the estimated population of Gauteng in 1996 was around 7.4 million. In 2013, it was estimated at 12.7 million. And in 2020, it is 15.5 million. In order to keep up with the increasing demands of competing in the world, the improvement and transformation of the infrastructure, therefore, could not be ignored nor avoided. This is one of the reasons that made Gauteng province decide on the Gauteng Freeway improvement projects, which could also come up with solutions in response to the pressure exerted by business, labor, and investors who were citing transport congestion on the highways and freeways, which were seen as slowing business and workers arriving late at work and back home. For example, taking 2-hour delays from Pretoria to Johannesburg. Similarly, the people of Gauteng, led by labor organizations, of course, by COSATU, have been calling for accessible, reliable, safe, affordable, and integrated public transport. We saw the emerging of Rea Vaya through the bus rapid transit system, Gautrain, and major roads upgrades. This was in line with improving the infrastructure to allow a free-flowing public transport system and fluid commuting within and between settlements, cities, and places of gainful employment. This good intention yielded the unintended consequences to commuters, alliance partners, political organizations, business, and many other stakeholders, as they all rejected the e-tolling system or user pay, which came with the upgraded road networks. Let us, at this moment, remember that this user pay system is an international standard used in most developed and developing worlds. Honorable Premier, in 2014, established a panel on the socio-economic impact of the Gauteng Freeway improvement projects and the e-tolls.
Can you put your mic off? Let's protect her.
Wa le khetha di-feelings
Can you put your mic off? Otherwise, I'll
No, Honorable Mkwebo, can you behave?
say order.
Can you behave? Listen to the debate.
Ha se mochapalemo, ha se
Go
mochapalemo.
on. Can you
No,
behave?
mamela debate mchana fela ba behave
Yeah, continue.
fela.
The Honorable Premier Makura in 2014 established a panel on the socio-economic impact of the Gauteng freeway improvement projects and the e-tolls. This demonstrated that the ANC in Gauteng is a caring and listening government. The agreement with all other stakeholders was clear to say we reject the e-tolling system. The Gauteng ANC in its 13th provincial conference subsequently resolved on scrapping the e-tolls. Led by our leadership, the ANC and Alliance, a march was held on the 2nd of November 2018 to the union buildings where a memorandum was handed over. This further demonstrates that we have one voice in Gauteng, of which this motion was even not to be debated today. We did not need a motion just to ask for the report or a plan or vote for it. However, South Africa has 3 spheres of government which are distinctive, please, interrelated. Please. However, South Africa has 3 spheres of government which are distinctive, interrelated, and interdependent, and laws are made by Parliament. Therefore, it is not this sphere of government that must come up with the final decision as this motion suggests. Several engagements between the Premier and the President have taken place in this regard. The President established a committee composed of the Premier, the Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Transport. The committee is mandated to investigate this matter in detail and advise the... You are drowning me. The committee was mandated to investigate this matter in detail and advise the President and Cabinet on the appropriate policy decision to be taken here. Which decision was to consider the views of the people of Gauteng. Our permanent delegates of the NSOP have been seized with this matter, putting pressure through member statements, oral questions, and written questions. Last week, Honorable Mbalula and Honorable Tito were supposed to be pronouncing the decision of the Cabinet at the NSOP. However, it has been delayed for 1 or 2 weeks. As the former President Mbeki said, and I quote, "Let us err today and say nothing can stop us." I thank you. Yabonga, the cancer.
Honorable members who are in this August House, I'm going to apply the rules that when you hack unnecessarily, you'll be suspended. I'll apply that rule. We take you out of the precinct. And I'm appealing to that because we're not going to allow this kind of a disruption. Let's listen. This is the motion that is on the table, and let's make sure that we listen. And if you want to interrupt or you have order, we have the rules. You've got Rule 88, you've got Rule 89, then that can really be applied. But I'm not really going to allow this. So can I now call upon Honorable Lidwaba?
It's Honorable Stangan.
Yeah, can continue, Ash Stangan.
Deputy Chair of Chairs, our position as EFF remains unchanged regarding the e-tolls in this province. Since 2014, when we first participated in this House, we made ourselves clear that these gantries on our highways must be removed. This is a matter that must not be negotiated. There's no need for this House to declare the e-toll project a failed financing model because it failed even before it started. This project was implemented without proper consultation with the people of Gauteng. That is why the people have refused to cooperate with SANRAL and never bought the e-tax. The ANC government have on several occasions promised the people of Gauteng that they will do away with e-tolls. However, the conflicting messages from both the provincial and national governments speak volumes about the future of e-tolls in this province. The national ministers are always contradicting everything the province is promising the people. Deputy Chair of Chairs, by saying Premier Makura must present to this House with an intergovernmental plan to scrap e-tolls is too much to ask from him. This poor man is powerless and has shown that he does not have the capacity to deal with the question of e-tolls. He wasted millions of rands on useless panels and fake public consultations that he staged since 2014. Despite our objection to such wastage, he is always playing to the gallery during State of the Province address by telling our people that e-tolls are not part of our future in Gauteng. The Premier's indecisiveness is relentless and perplexing because we do not know why we are even debating the future of this defunct scheme in the first place. He likes grandstanding by making empty promise. He has got no jurisdiction over this matter. Finish and clear. His MEC, Communist Jacob Mamabulo, recently made an announcement that they have made a compelling argument to the president regarding the e-toll problem. Then what? Nothing is forthcoming. Maybe the compelling argument is that the provincial government is prepared silently to contribute something towards the payment of the e-toll debt to ensure the scrapping of this multi-billion system. Deputy Chair of Chairs, as EFF, we are ready to roll up our sleeves and physically remove these gantries on the Gauteng freeways. We call on the people of Gauteng and motorists to continue to boycott e-tolls until government finds a solution other than making and forcing ordinary citizens to pay. The people of Gauteng must refuse to pay for a debt that they did not create. We believe the wasteful expenditure expressed in these government departments must first be addressed in order to pay back the debt this ANC government has created and for the future development of road infrastructure in Gauteng and in the country. Our people already pay for the ANC corruption, water, electricity, and ever-increasing fuel prices. Why must this government impose another tariff that came out of the greed and corrupt interests of Congress movement? We must never let ourselves to be fooled by the Premier when he makes promises to scrap the e-tolls in Gauteng. At the e-toll review panel in 2014, the former ANC chairperson, Paul Mashatile, if you remember, submitted to the panel that the ANC is not opposed to user pay principle and that it would be irresponsible and reckless for the countries to be removed or destroyed. Yeah. Let us not be fooled. These e-tolls are here to stay as long as ANC is in government. The residents of Gauteng must therefore be ready and prepared to take to the street if need be. The contradicting messages from government speak volumes regarding the future of these e-tolls. Deputy Chair of Chairs, would like to call on this House to pronounce itself on the warnings made by SANRAL against those motorists who refuse to pay e-tolls. Such bullying tactics should not be encouraged and must be condemned in the strongest possible terms. By warning that vehicle license renewals will be blocked if drivers fail to pay e-tolls is a serious threat, and we don't take really light to such kind of threats. Should this threat be implemented, it will be an invitation to EFF in Gauteng and other concerned civil society organizations to visit the offices of SANRAL. This warning by SANRAL should be viewed as a call for civil disobedience, because our people are not going to be forced into paying for a debt they were never part of in the first place. SANRAL must be concerned with the alleged 10 million corruption scandal that recently surfaced, instead of threatening Gauteng motorists. The people of South Africa cannot afford to fund corruption in SOEs anymore. We must call upon all law enforcement agencies to speed up their investigation and those found to have been involved be prosecuted. As we conclude, Deputy Chair of Chairs, we would like to reiterate our position. E-tolls must fall. E-tolls must fall. E-tolls must fall. And we are prepared to remove them physically at no cost to the taxpayer. I salute.
Honorable Albert.
Thank you, Deputy Chair of Chairs.
Honorable Albert.
Deputy Chair of Chairs, can you hear me?
Can you unmute Honorable Albert?
I am unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can now. Continue.
Thank you very much. Deputy Chair of Chairs, we view the e-toll system as an illegitimate tax, a legally unfounded project, an ANC government-led swindle. It is a disgrace built on the other disgraces of the ANC provincial government that this matter has not been laid to rest yet. The reason for this is clear. On the one hand, the Gauteng provincial ANC knows that should the e-tolls remain a reality when the elections of 27 October 2021 and 2024 take place, the ANC will lose the local councils it still controls as well as the province. On the other hand, the ANC on the national level do not share this provincial ANC's view on the e-tolls. The Minister of Finance this year declared again in his budget speech that the user pay principle is sound. As we have indicated numerous times, the only legitimate way forward for this provincial government is to be bold and take an official stand within the legal parameters set by the Intergovernmental Relations Act 13 of 2005 and to declare an official dispute with the national government. This process, should no amicable negotiated solution be reached, will clear the way for this government to formally take legal action against the national government. So, we again put it to the ANC provincial government. If you are truly honest about your opposition to the e-toll system, be prepared to take the national ANC government to court and make a formal declaration to that effect. Anything short of this is a clear indication that this government is merely concerned about its re-election and does not truly care about the devastating effect of the e-toll system on Gauteng's economy and its people. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable Nell.
Deputy Chair, as the velocity of money creates economies, so does the velocity of people and goods feed economic growth. Anything that inhibits such growth must be opposed. E-tolls is one of those obstacles in Gauteng. Given the fact that Gauteng is the largest contributor to our country's GDP, we cannot afford any measure that inhibits the flow of people and goods as well as our economy. The flow of people is not just to get to work, but also to access work opportunities. E-tolls increases the cost of transport in the province, that inhibits work seekers to access job opportunities and causes an increase in basic goods prices, as logistics companies have to give the additional transport costs through to consumers. These are some of the main reasons why we oppose e-tolls in an urban conurbation like Gauteng, especially given our dominant role in the economy. The resolution is to remove e-tolls to lower the cost of transport in the province that will contribute to economic growth, which is now more than ever needed, and then a proper transport master plan with mode prioritization needs to be put in place that will direct transport investment and move private vehicles to public transport. It is understood why e-tolls was considered. The cost of continuously building, maintaining and expanding roads is very high. The growth of vehicles registered in Gauteng annually is not matched by the increase in the capacity of roads to accommodate the growth in vehicles. Thus, e-tolls wanted to discourage private vehicle use and encourage the use of public transport. The reason why vehicles are preferred in this province is because of the bad quality and, in some instances, the collapse of public transport in our province, an unattractive option. It was disingenuous to introduce e-tolls in the hope that motorists in our province would be forced onto public transport when this provincial government has done basically nothing to expand and improve public transport. If we had access to reliable, safe, extensive and affordable public transport, e-tolls would not have even been considered. We are here today to call on the Gauteng provincial government to place more pressure on national government to make a final decision on e-tolls. The ANC in our province has flip-flopped on e-tolls so many times before and after the 3 preceding elections that I'm not sure whether they are indeed serious about their promise to get rid of e-tolls. The Premier passing the buck to national government does not absolve him from responsibility to place even more pressure on national government to make a final decision. He has not yet exhausted all options, and the one option he still has available to him is to declare a dispute with national government on the matter. This will prove to us that he is serious about getting finality on the e-tolling system. Minister Mbalula has been stringing us along since 2019, promising to make an announcement on e-tolls time and again. So far, he has failed 100% of the time on his promises. Mr. Fix-It has become Mr. Broken Promises, and it is difficult to believe him when he promises an imminent announcement on e-tolls. We can no longer allow him to string our province along and not taking us seriously. Without pressure, the e-tolls matter will remain hanging like a foul stench in Gauteng. The residents of this province want finality on the matter and not any further empty promises ahead of elections. Premier Makura needs to act and act now. He needs to use the options available to him, and he needs to declare an intergovernmental dispute with the national government so that we can finally see some action on e-tolls. It is now time to recover the economy of this province. This will be achieved by unblocking the movement of people and goods. Our province is in dire need of job-creating economic growth, and the first step to attaining this is by getting rid of e-tolls, for once and for all. The DA will not rest until we've gotten rid of this burden on the people of Gauteng. Thank you.
Honourable Dlamini.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs and Honourable Members in the House. Madam Chair of Chairs, the Inkatha Freedom Party has remained and still remain firm on its rejection of the e-tolling system in Gauteng freeways. From the beginning, we warned that this system would add a needless and disappropriate taxation expense to the already financially strained citizens and business in the province. Instead of adding value, it diminishes the worth of our economy and demoralizes our motorists who are singled out to pay for social infrastructure which sustains not just this province, but the whole country and its neighbors. The people of Gauteng's opposition towards paying for the e-toll system is palpable. This is evidenced by the fact that the system's administrator, Sanral itself, admits that less than 20% of Gauteng motorists are compliant with the payment of e-tolls. Last year, Sanral recorded a 14 billion revenue loss and an estimated 9.8 billion of that was due to non-payment of e-tolls, meaning that Gauteng motorists are liable. Unfortunately, it is money that people cannot pay, not because they don't want to, but simply because sebephefumula ngenxeba and cannot afford an extra taxes on their legal to non-existent disposal incomes. Not after the pay cuts and the job bloodbath caused by the COVID-19, and certainly not when Gauteng's motorists are already paying the bulk of the country's toll roads revenues. Honourable Speaker, we cannot allow Gauteng citizens to take the fall for the consistent erroneous and colossal decisions of the ANC-led government. As the IFP, we believe that e-tolling was and remains an irrational and unfeasible system. Constitutional Court gave a damning judgment against the implementation of planned e-tolls in the city of Cape Town, and precisely because of the system's unfairness and inequitable distribution, nathi Gauteng asiwadingi ama e-tolls. The people of this province are tired of the series of promises for decisive action around the e-tolls. The dithering must stop. For some time now, the promise of a cabinet decision on the matter has been pending. I hope by the end of this month that decision will have been taken, as promised by the Minister of Transport. But as we wait, allow me to give a word of caution for the government not to take the people of Gauteng for granted. The e-toll system in its current form simply needs to be scrapped, for that is the only rational and compassionate thing to do. I thank you.
Honorable Sneeman.
Chairperson, Honourable Premier, members of the Executive Council and honourable members, according to the World Bank in 2015, roads are the arteries through which the economy pulses. By linking producers to markets, workers to jobs, students to schools, and the sick to hospitals, roads are vital to any development agenda. The World Bank lends more money for roads than for education, health, and social services combined. The vision of the Gauteng Department of Roads and Transport is a modern, integrated, efficient and sustainable transport and road infrastructure system. And Gauteng, its mission is to facilitate and provide an integrated transport system that is reliable, accessible, safe and affordable, offers seamless mobility, is environmentally sustainable and supports industrialization and radical socio-economic transformation. The provisions of well-maintained roads and the existing freeway network in Gauteng form part of the backbone towards a vibrant economy for all its inhabitants. According to MSc Mababolo, and I quote, Gauteng, as the largest economy in our country, is growing at a fast pace, and our road network is even more crucial in keeping the economy ticking. We need a reliable and safe road network so that we grow the economy of our province, close quote. Whilst work is being undertaken to upgrade roads, in particular provincial roads in Gauteng, upgrades tend to experience delays and in some cases stop altogether for long periods of time due to various disputes which arise. The recent upgrade of the N14 highway between the West Rand and Tshwane is an example of an upgrade which took place with little or no delays and resulted in the size of the highway being increased in sections. New on- and off-ramps were constructed, giving residents of Diepsloot and other areas easier access to the N14. Overall, the travelling experience of commuters on the N14 has been significantly improved. Of particular note is that this upgrade was completed without having to install e-tolls to pay for the upgrade. According to a study by Wits University, it indicated that workers do not only support themselves. The National Income Dynamic Survey showed that on average, earners living in poor households support themselves and close to 3 others. Some earners support many more than this. Some poor wage earners support up to 10 dependents. Over 30,000 residents in Gauteng participated in the Gauteng Household Travel Survey. The 2019-2020 study, which was conducted and compiled by the CSIR, indicated that almost 60% of households in Gauteng spent more than the policy maximum target of 10% of their income on public transport in 2019-2020, which is up from 55% in 2014. It is clear that transport is continuing to contribute significantly to the increased cost of living. Higher transport costs also result in higher food costs and retail, such as clothing and furniture, amongst others. It is the gogo who gets up early in the morning to bake scones and then needs to pay for transport to get to an area where she is confident that she will be able to sell those scones so that in the evening she and her family can have food on the table. Any increase in transport costs has a calamitous impact on the income she can take home after paying for the transport used. Travelling costs are impacting negatively on the poor, who in cases are already living below the poverty line. Gauteng is the most tolled province in the country through the use of toll plazas and e-tolls. SMMEs play an important role towards the creation of the 11 million jobs by 2030, which is an objective set by the NDP. The additional financial burden incurred through the e-toll fees would have impacted on the creation on some of these much-needed jobs. In addition, often the first people to be retrenched by companies wanting to retain their profit margins are the lower income earners. The National Development Plan 2030 puts transport infrastructure at the centre of addressing the imbalances of the past and indicates that the investments in the transport sector must bridge geographic distances, ensuring affordability, safety and reliability, so that all South Africans can access previously inaccessible economic opportunities. Whilst this might be what the NDP advocates, the current scenario under the current e-toll system presents a very different picture. According to Dr. Tau Ramaroka, and I quote, "South Africa's e-toll system undermines the aspirations of the NDP 2030 of building and promoting accessible towns and cities, as the e-toll system mostly affects the African working-class motorists and the poor in general who are residing at the peripheries of urban areas. These motorists are either faced with the daily charges of the e-tolls or must use alternative, congested and long routes to access economic opportunities, social spaces and services in urban areas as compared to more wealthy citizens who are housed near city centres." Close quote. It is clear that all citizens of Gauteng should be allowed to make use of the highways on which the e-tolls are situated without the burden of incurring added costs. Roads that are identified as alternative routes should be in a good condition and be able to accommodate the additional traffic volumes without undue delays. In fact, there are insufficient alternative routes. Furthermore, more attention needs to be given to providing the commuters, and in particular lower-income earning commuters of Gauteng, with various options of public transport that would enable them to choose how they would want to reach a particular destination. Lower-income earning commuters do have motor vehicles, and this was a matter that was raised by the former Minister of Transport, the late Minister Dalla Omo, to the Portfolio Committee on Transport, of which I was a member during the period 1999 to 2004, and perhaps it's a matter that really needs to be looked at. The ANC in Gauteng has been very clear on its stand regarding e-tolls, and that is that they should be scrapped. The ANC has not changed its stance on this matter. The Gauteng provincial government has submitted proposals with various options to consider, and we look forward to the announcement which the Minister of Transport has advised will be made shortly, as this matter needs to be resolved as a matter of extreme urgency. The choice of topic for this debate by the DA in the name of the leader of the DA in the legislature is rather strange, to say the least. The issue of e-tolls is receiving the attention.
Thanks, Honourable Adams. Let's get to Honourable Adams.
Good morning. Good morning, Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs. Sure. Good morning, Honourable members, people of Gauteng. Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, we as the ACDP says, what the people of Gauteng need now more than ever is government to provide a clear way forward for Gauteng road users regarding the highly contested tolling system. We want to urge the government to be bold in taking a firm decision to terminate e-tolls with immediate effect, to cancel any outstanding debt, and to reimburse those who have paid already. Honourable Deputy Chair of Chairs, I believe that Gauteng motorists have been patient, but it's unfair to keep them guessing for much longer. Let me also reiterate what the Gauteng Roads and Transport MEC, Honourable Jacob Mamabola, said by rubbishing the e-toll system, going further and calling it diabolical and doomed from the onset. He also said, and I agree, that Gauteng residents must no longer be burdened by the system. The MEC said that the Gauteng provincial government has put together a comprehensive, detailed proposal that has been properly modelled by technical experts. But tragically, Deputy Chair of Chairs, to date, we have not heard a word. In closing, the people of Gauteng now need a clear and decisive answer about the e-tolls that has been like a yoke on their necks. I thank you, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs.
Honorable Muriati.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Chair of Chairs. I predict in future generations they will read about the e-toll saga and wonder why leaders in public office saw fit to curse the people of the country's most wealthy province for so long with a scheme that carried great cost with so little benefit. The apologists for e-tolls will shout out an indignant response saying, "What about the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project?" But either they are confused or dishonest. GFIP does not equal e-tolls. User pays, Honourable Schneeman, does not equal e-tolls. There are other ways to finance GFIP, for example, with a 10-cent per litre portion of the fuel levy. The roads would have been paid off years ago if that advice had been taken. Whatever happened to government for the people? The truth is, the people of Gauteng don't want e-tolls. So if the ANC claims to govern for the people, then they should listen to the people and reject e-tolls. If you look at SANRAL's annual reports, you will see that ETC, the collection agency for e-tolls, is only able to collect about 22% of the budgeted income for the tolling system. That means 78% of the road users refuse to pay. Again, I say, Mr. Deputy Chair of Chairs, the people of Gauteng do not want e-tolls. Elsewhere, in the reports of SANRAL, the costs of administration, it shows that about 570 million rand a year goes towards a collection. 570 million rand we're paying straight to e-tolls. Doesn't go into the taxpayer, doesn't go to the Treasury, doesn't go to finance roads. Now, what was received in income in 2019? 688. It's very close to that 570, so virtually all of it is gone. In 2020, this had declined to 660 million. So that leaves only 90 million. I think it's called small nyana money that actually goes to finance the roads. But if you had used a fuel levy, the cost of collection is zero. Luto, dololo, nix. What language must I use that the Minister of Finance can understand? So how do you explain why this ANC government persists in using a scheme whereby only 16% of the money collected goes to paying off the roads, when another method would ensure 100% is used to repay the costs? There's only one explanation that would make any logical sense. There must be a financial reward gained by a decision maker or some decision makers in government in order to keep the contract going. There is a word for this. It's corruption. There is nothing else that can explain the mad determination to keep e-tolls going, particularly after ETC's contract ended, only to be extended again and again. So, Mr. Premier, wherever you are, thank you for supporting us with your words, but it's the outcome that counts. In this respect, your posturing, specifically in election years, counts for nothing. The e-tolls are still with us.
Honorable Mamavulo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair of Chairs. Let me take the opportunity to acknowledge the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, Honorable Chief Whip of the one and only majority party, Honorable MECs, Honorable members, one little component of it, however important it might be. So the DA has got a narrow understanding of the e-tolling system. That's why this motion is deeply flawed. Secondly, if you look at the second point they are making, they are calling on the Premier of the province to step up or to fast-track the process that they are defining in the motion. That, honourable members, is obsolete. That has outlived its usefulness. The Premier, the provincial government have done everything called fast-tracking long time ago. I wonder where was the Democratic Alliance, because this side and the Premier himself has led this House in doing everything that is required. So, honourable members, to support a motion that calls on the Premier to fast-track, this is obsolete, has outlived its usefulness, and is lacking in terms of time. It's far way back. Time has moved on. We are quite far with the issue of it all. So to still be saying the Premier must do this and that, I think is too late and too little for that matter. The third part of the motion, which is very much dangerous, the motion is saying that the Premier must present an intergovernmental plan in 30 days, but this motion does not tell us what is an intergovernmental plan. I've never heard of such a word in my life. Because if they were talking about an intergovernmental relations plan, maybe we'll be talking something that we could check what that is. But I've never heard anywhere something called intergovernmental plan. Now, when you look at this intergovernmental plan, I think it goes to intergovernmental relations. And what they are trying to do, honourable members, with this is that they want the Premier to bring a plan declaring a dispute with the national government. In actual fact, Honourable Nel himself has clearly said they want to declare a dispute with national government. So this part of the motion is actually a set-up for us to declare a dispute. If the Premier in 30 days does not do that, they will go to court and say they have the support of this legislature, they have exhausted all the steps, and they will bring a court, as Msimang himself had long announced, and Muriati, that they want to bring an intergovernmental dispute. So this part of the motion, we must be very careful. They are actually trying to set up this House to declare and support their intention of bringing an intergovernmental dispute. So to that extent, we must be able to read it. The DA has never done anything on it all except to bring the motion. The Alliance has marched to the union buildings. The provincial government has submitted a comprehensive document, and to that extent, we are looking forward to a post-post e-toll dispensation where the e-toll will be history and a thing of the past. So the African National Congress remained the only leader, true leader in this House that is leading the charge on the battle and the fight against e-toll. And our position has not changed.
50%.
So to that extent, honourable members, we must remain firm on our position and fight for the scrapping of e-tolls in the light of the announcement that is coming. On this side, there is no plan, no action, nothing. This is the dead side on the e-toll, and it's not going to help the people of our country. Now, in conclusion, honourable members, I just want to say
you want protection.
The African National Congress government has submitted a plan,
your seat from the opposition.
And that plan, honourable members, suggests national equitable solution.
Time up.
Yeah, so let's give Honourable Msimang to respond to the debate.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair of Chairs. Let's start with Umam Ongube, who claimed that they represent a government for the people, by the people. But when the same people said we don't want the system, they turned a blind eye and they closed their ears and implemented a system that they want to now come and champion as the people who have been fighting for it. The same people who marched to themselves to say to their own minister
on a policy that they themselves came up and implemented without following people, are now claiming to be listening to the people. One of the things that I find very interesting is that Mam Nube wants to claim that apartheid is to blame for it all. So you people of Gauteng, that 3 times your government has said, we are coming with a solution, we are proposing a solution. Before you wrote that document, still failing to scrap e-tolls. We are here to say, let's fast track the process, let's make sure that you write to the Minister of Transport and to the Minister of Treasury and to Ndabeti Boy, and say to them, how the residents have rejected this, they don't want it. That is what you need to be doing, not dilly-dally.
I know you are not even sure which rule is that. But for courtesy's sake, I will just leave you. Can we... Yeah. Can you lower the mace and we allow... for 2 minutes? The ring to bell for 2 minutes? You have a copy? I printed for you. You forgot it. But for those that have submitted an apology not to attend the meeting at all, we'll regard them as not have voted. Because you can't say, I'm not in a meeting, then you are in a meeting. Okay, we're going to start. Can the secretary read the names?
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. We'll start with row number 1. MD Makura.
No.
A. Lisufi.
No. Awa.
M.E. Kumalo.
No.
Dr. N.E. Mukheti.
No.
N. Nkomora Logo.
No.
L.I. Maile.
No.
P.J. Mamabolo.
No.
N.M. Hlagaza Manamela.
No.
Malema. D.P. Malema. D.P. Malema. F. D.C. Lidwawa.
No.
F. Hassan.
No.
Dr. M.R. Paladi Khamela.
No.
T. Ndlovu.
No.
A.D.W. Albert.
Yes.
A.D.W. Albert.
Yes.
Bishop D.K. Adams.
We abstain.
B.W. Dlamini. B. F.P. Nell.
Yes.
J.J. Hoffman. A. Dilanga.
Yes.
K.C. Mazwi.
Abstain.
M.R. Mofoma.
Abstain.
A. Chitangano.
This thing is not working.
ND Radebe.
Want you to describe.
ND Radebe.
We want you to describe.
MS, comma.
No, I mean that is just a
MS, comma.
We want you to describe.
Otseni phakathi Benegan. James Benegan, Muniwari.
Sure. I live with Mamelodi people, they tell me everything. I'll show you.
Oh, she's an old.
She's tall, man. She's tall. What para spansol?
Chite penny round 80 ra.
Uvotile ugajeni namhlanje.
Owehlisa insizwa lemsinga mfethu.
Ubani umshayeli kahle?
Colleagues, here are the results. Not voted, 1. Spoiled, 1. Abstain, 5. Absent, 6. No response, 3. Yes, 19. No, 37. So the motion is defeated. Can I request the whips to come?
Exposure.
Whips, can you come and sign?
Madam Speaker, I will write, but I'm going to write.
Yeah. Colleagues, please. Please. Colleagues, please. Colleagues, Mukwebo, please. Oh, sorry. Nay. Hours, sharp. Thank you very much. The House is adjourned. Chief Whip, I want to bow for you.